Friends, today I will tell you about one of the many legends of American football. This is Joe Mantana. Joe Mantana, born in 1956, perhaps, except for the fictional Phileas Fogg, no one has ever mastered time and wielded it with greater confidence than Joe Mantana. Mantana boasted an illustrious lineage, hailing from western Pennsylvania, a region rich in coal deposits and quarterbacks. Figures like Johnny Lujack, Ernie Gallifa, George Blanda, Joe Namath, and Jim Kelly, to name a few. And Mantana not only continued this glorious tradition, he was worthy of standing together with them in the front row, not squeezed into the background in the group portrait. No, more than that, through his 11th hour heroics, he earned the most prominent spot in that snapshot. San Francisco 49ers defender Joe Mantana in an offensive play during Super Bowl 19. These feats appropriately began at Notre Dame, where such wonders seemed almost predetermined. Recall the victory over Idaho in 1935 just as the clock was about to strike 12. But before this Cinderella slipper fit him, Mantana spent his first year honing his skills in team practices. By the second year, this young man, with a polite face and well-mannered demeanor, had already proven that despite outward softness, he possessed the strength of iron in challenging situations. This was soon confirmed by the North Carolina team. When Carolina led 14-6 at the end of the fourth quarter, Notre Dame coach Dan Devine sent Mantana from the bench to the field to rejuvenate the fading attacking spirit of the Irish. Controlling the team and the clock precisely for the first time, Mantana brought the Irish 73 yards in just 5 plays, then added 2 points with a pass for a tie and 14 points. Then, with just 1:15 left in the game and the ball on the 20-yard line of Notre Dame, he made an 80-yard pass for the winning touchdown. After the game, in the locker room, athletic trainer Mo Krause told his team, "I've been watching the game since Knute Rockne, and I can tell you that there has never been such a comeback in Notre Dame history." Mantana's number 16 jersey hangs in the Professional Football Hall of Fame. However, according to the immortal words of L. Jolson, the fans of Notre Dame and future fans of Joe Mantana haven't seen anything yet. There was also the comeback against the Air Force team, when the Irish trailed 30-7 at halftime, the victory over Purdue, after his team trailed 2400 hours 14 with less than 2 minutes left in the third quarter, and then the greatest of all collegiate comeback victories in the 1979 Cotton Bowl game against Houston. The game unfolded according to an absolutely unimaginable script. This meeting, the last of Mantana's career at Notre Dame, took place under conditions more suitable for skiing than football, as wet snow and wind turned the Cotton Bowl field into an ice rink. Moreover, just a week before the game, Mantana had battled the flu. It was the third period, with the score 34-12 in favor of Houston, and our hero remained on the bench, weak as a puppy on a vegetarian diet, with a body temperature of 36 degrees and the chills, the magnitude of which reached 5.5 on the Richter scale. In short, the situation was such that no miracle could help. However, after devouring a bowl of modern magic potion called chicken noodle soup, Mantana returned to the game. And soon he proved that such a deficit against a team led by Mantana was not worthy of much attention and could be eliminated within one period. First, Notre Dame trailed 7-37, and Mantana added 2 points with a pass to Vegas Ferguson, making it 34-20 in favor of Houston. Then, taking the ball on Notre Dame's 39-yard line with 5:40 remaining, Mantana led a 6-play drive in just 1 minute and 22 seconds, rushing for 2 yards and adding another 2 points. Houston still led, 34-28. And then Mantana spoiled what seemed to be Notre Dame's last chance when the ball was stripped from him at Houston's 20-yard line. However, Houston, seemingly eager to fulfill destiny's command, merciful to the persistent, returned the ball to the Irish with only 28 seconds left on the clock. Mantana threw the ball to Houston's 8-yard line just 6 seconds before the end of the game. Mantana called a timeout to Chris Haynes, but the pass was low and inaccurate. Only 2 seconds remained. And at that moment, Coach Devine called Mantana to the sideline to discuss the next and final play with him. Contrary to popular belief inspired by Gallagher's brilliant cartoon published in True magazine in 1969, depicting a giant right hand descending from the clouds to the gathered players, while the commentator in his booth declares, "The game ends with a victory for Notre Dame." This victory was primarily the work of Devine and Mantana, with divine providence coming second. "Joe, what do you think about making just one shot?" Devine asked. Perhaps there were objections to the shot, but unable to present any facts, Mantana replied, "I'd like to continue as I started." "Okay, go ahead," Devine agreed, sending Mantana back onto the field. And Mantana made a low pass in the space of a napkin, Haynes Dove, catching the ball in the far corner of the end zone and rolled out with it over the line. 34:34, the extra point, with no time left, brought Notre Dame a 35:34 victory, the greatest come-from-behind victory in the history of college sports. Next, Mantana moved with his bag of wonders to San Francisco to the 49ers, who selected him in the third round of the 1982 draft, 82nd overall. This team, the 49ers, could at best be called impoverished and lacking in sparkle. Its greatest star, O.J. Simpson, was almost literally left without legs at that time. San Francisco fans could easily be identified by their drooping backs and gloomy faces, and many of them were already beginning to assert, as journalist Peter King did, that the only worthwhile player is the kicker, Abe Woodson. King added by way of explanation, "And think about it. Only in a very bad team can that poor player who puts the ball back into play after the opponents have changed the score be considered outstanding against the general background." And things were indeed so bad, as evidenced by the team's 1978 record of 2-14. With the new head coach Bill Walsh came a change of guard, as well as defense and running backs. But not quarterback. And so Mantana spent his first season, polishing the bench behind Steve DeBerg, who set an NFL record of 578 passes, and made only 23 passes, one of which ended in a fumble, a 16-yard throw during one of San Francisco's 14 failures, ending the season with a record of 2-14. The 1980 season began right where the 1979 season left off, with DeBerg starting as quarterback and Mantana coming off the bench. But by the 7th week, Walsh decided to switch quarterbacks, and Mantana responded to the promotion by immediately bringing much-needed mobility and intelligence to the game. By the 14th week, he showed the first glimpses of his future greatness, erasing a deficit of 35-7 and allowing the 49ers to defeat the Saints after a 71-yard bomb from Dwight Clark passing a 14-yard touchdown to Freddie Solomon, and personally diving into the yard with a fumble, making the score 38-35. Overall, he completed 176 of 273 passes with the league's best completion percentage of 0.645, and the 49ers ended the season with a record of 6-10. The 1981 season was completely different, as Walsh decided that Mantana would be his future quarterback and sold DeBerg, giving the ball to Joe in full possession. Mantana demonstrated that the future didn't have to wait long, leading the 49ers to a record-breaking 13-3 and the first NFC West title since 1972, using his running ability for devastating attacks. Completing 311 of his 488 attempts with an average rate of 0.637, Mantana ranked third among quarterbacks. And he engineered 3 determined victories, including one over the Rams at the end of regulation. But while Mantana stacked up one determined victory after another, only one will forever be remembered, achieved in the battle for the NFC Championship title in 1982 against the Dallas Cowboys, in a game etched in the memory of San Francisco connoisseurs as the Catch. With the score at 4:19 left and the score not in favor of the 49ers, 27-21, Mantana, adhering to the belief that time as such does not yet exist, inexorably drove the team forward. Then, with only 58 seconds left on the clock and the ball on Dallas's 6-yard line, Mantana was forced to retreat under the pressure of 3 stalwarts from the opponent's defense, known as the Doomsday Defense, looming over him like ominous angels of death with their retribution. But he wasn't buried yet, and Mantana lobbed the ball high towards the end zone, where Dwight Clark, streaking in from the left, stretched out to his full height, 6 feet 4 inches, to lay the ball to rest on the turf. Mantana at Super Bowl 50 with Steve Young, his successor at the 49ers' starting quarterback position. 2 weeks later, Mantana led San Francisco to victory in the Super Bowl over the Bengals from Cincinnati, completing 14 out of 22 passes and earning the honors bestowed upon the Most Valuable Player. 3 more times, Mr. January guided the 49ers to victory in the Super Bowl, including after a determined win in the XCI edition over those same Bengals, when he made the longest pass in Super Bowl history, a 92-yard completion by exchanging short passes first with Jerry Rice, then with John Taylor, then again with Rice, and then, with only 34 seconds left on the clock, he handed the ball to Taylor, who made a 10-yard dash, bringing San Francisco an incredible victory with a score of 20-16. It was in this Super Bowl game, just before the start of the 92-yard pass, that Mantana demonstrated why he was dubbed Cool Joe. According to the assertion of defender Randy Cross, as all the other players of the 49ers gathered in a huddle, anticipating this great play, Mantana himself looked over at the Bengals sideline with a strange smile on his face. He said, "Hey, isn't that John Candy over there?" "Yeah, it looks like it." 10 plays later, Mantana threw a touchdown pass to Taylor, completing the winning drive. Throughout his sporting career, Mantana operated with the confidence of a market hustler, not so much delivering passes as pulling trump cards from his sleeve. 29 times he led his troops to victory from the brink of defeat, when the clock on the scoreboard was already ticking down the final minute of the game. When injuries began to threaten his greatness and the flame of glory began to flicker, he managed to reignite it brightly once again in a new display of determination, this time in 1993 with the Chiefs from Kansas City, when he led them to their first division championship victory in the AFC West since 1971, and then, against all odds, saved 2 playoff games, securing 2 more determined victories, the 28th and 29th in his NFL career. Joe Montana always played under the belief that weakness will amounted to no more than a scrap of paper. And yet, this Cinderella in Crete secured more determined victories than Frank Sinatra and Sarah Bernhardt combined.